The helicopter touched down on the landing pad behind the Capitol building at 4:47 p.m. on a Friday. I just returned from a 3-day economic summit in Washington, D.C., exhausted but satisfied with the federal funding we'd secured for the state's infrastructure projects. My security detail escorted me to the black SUV waiting on the tarmac. I collapsed into the leather seat, already mentally planning the quiet weekend ahead at my mountain home. Governor Walsh, my chief of staff, Patricia, said from the passenger seat, her voice unusually tight. "We need to talk before you head to Pinecrest." I looked up from my phone, catching the worried expression on her face in the rear-view mirror. "What's wrong?" She twisted in her seat to face me fully, clutching her tablet like a lifeline. "I've been trying to reach you all afternoon. Your mountain property. There's been an incident." My blood ran cold. "What kind of incident? Is Rachel okay?" My wife had stayed behind this trip, claiming she needed a few days of peace and quiet. "She's fine. She's been staying at the governor's mansion in the city. But your Pinecrest property." Patricia pulled up something on her tablet, her fingers trembling slightly. "The Pinecrest Ridge HOA ordered it demolished this morning." For a moment, the words didn't make sense. Demolished. My home. The custom-built mountain mansion that had taken 2 years to design and another year to construct. The place where Rachel and I had celebrated our 20th anniversary just last month, watching the sunset paint the valley below in shades of gold and crimson. "That's impossible," I said flatly. "They can't just demolish someone's home." Patricia turned the tablet toward me, and I found myself staring at a news helicopter photo. My stomach dropped. Where my house had stood, the soaring timber frame structure with floor-to-ceiling windows, the wraparound deck, the infinity pool that seemed to spill into the mountain vista. There was nothing but rubble. A yellow excavator sat amid the debris like a mechanical vulture. "How?" The word came out strangled. "How is this legal?" According to the HOA president, you had over $47,000 in unpaid fines and had ignored multiple notices of violation and demolition warnings, Patricia explained, reading from her notes. "They claim they sent certified letters to both your Pinecrest address and the governor's mansion. When you didn't respond or pay, they exercised their right under the HOA covenant to demolish the structure." I felt like I had been punched in the chest. $47,000? For what? Apparently, it started 18 months ago. A fine for your exterior paint color being non-compliant. Your gray was supposedly one shade too dark from the approved palette. When you didn't pay that $500 fine, they added late fees and compounding penalties. Then they cited you for having an unapproved satellite dish, parking your personal vehicle in the driveway instead of the garage, holiday decorations displayed past January 5th. She scrolled through a long list. Each violation added more fines, and with their penalty structure, the amount snowballed. "I never received any notices," I said, my voice rising. "Not a single letter, email, or phone call." "They have proof of delivery," Patricia said quietly. "Signed receipts." "Signed by whom?" She hesitated. "Someone named R. Walsh at the Pinecrest address and staff at the governor's mansion." My hands clenched into fists. I'd been living in the governor's mansion during the week and spending weekends at Pinecrest, but my mail went through my official office. Any legitimate legal notices would have been flagged by my staff, unless someone had deliberately intercepted them. "Get me Marcus Brennan on the phone," I told Patricia. Marcus was my attorney general, and more importantly, a friend I'd known since law school. "And find out who's on the Pinecrest Ridge HOA board. All of them. Full background checks by Monday morning." The weekend that followed was a blur of fury and strategy sessions. Marcus confirmed that the HOA had technically followed Colorado's property demolition statutes. if the notices had been properly delivered and I had failed to respond or remediate the violations within the specified time frames. They did have the legal authority to demolish, but the more we dug into the details, the more suspicious the entire situation became. The HOA president was a man named Donald Garrett, a retired real estate developer who'd moved to Pinecrest Ridge 5 years ago. I didn't recognize the name, but Marcus did some digging and discovered that Garrett had been a losing bidder on my property when I had purchased it 7 years ago. He'd apparently wanted that specific lot for his own dream home, and I'd outbid him at the last minute. "This is revenge," Rachel said Sunday evening as we sat in the governor's mansion library, surrounded by bankers' boxes of documents my team had pulled together. "Pure, petty revenge. He's been waiting for an opportunity." She was right, but proving malicious intent would be difficult. What we could prove, however, was that the HOA had violated multiple state regulations in their handling of the case. By Monday morning, I had a team of investigators combing through every aspect of the Pinecrest Ridge HOA's operations. What they found was staggering. Garrett had been running the HOA like a personal fiefdom, using ambiguous covenant language to target specific homeowners he didn't like while ignoring identical violations by his friends. The approved paint color palette that had started my cascade of fines, it had been amended by Garrett alone, without proper board vote, specifically to exclude the color of my home. But the real smoking gun came when we tracked down the certified mail receipts. The signature at my Pinecrest address belonged to a landscaping crew member who'd been offered $200 to sign for a package. He had no idea what he was signing for and had been told it was a routine delivery. The staff signature at the governor's mansion, completely fabricated. Our security logs showed no mail carrier had delivered anything during the time stamp on the receipt. They forged delivery confirmation of legal notices, Marcus said, his eyes gleaming with prosecutorial zeal. That's mail fraud. And using it to justify property destruction? That's potentially criminal extortion. I called an emergency press conference for Tuesday afternoon. The Capitol press room was packed. Everyone wanted to know why the governor's mountain home had been demolished, and conspiracy theories were already running wild on social media. I stood at the podium, Rachel beside me, and laid out exactly what had happened, not just to us, but to 3 other Pinecrest Ridge homeowners who come forward over the weekend with similar stories of harassment, excessive fines, and threats from Garrett's HOA board. "This is not about my home," I said, looking directly into the cameras. "This is about a systemic abuse of power that affects homeowners across Colorado. HOAs serve an important purpose, but when they're weaponized by individuals pursuing personal vendettas, they become a threat to property rights." I announced that I was directing the Attorney General to investigate the Pinecrest Ridge HOA for fraud, and that I would be working with the state legislature to introduce comprehensive HOA reform legislation. We'd establish clearer oversight mechanisms, mandatory mediation before demolition, and penalties for HOA boards that operated outside the law. As for my property,